Are we going to be a selling team? Are we going to renovate? Are we right close enough to that cut line that maybe we need to be a modified buyer, something along those lines? So based on the activity we've seen to this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more activity, but I think that the trade action post-Four Nations is going to be pretty aggressive.
Welcome back to Habs Lunch, TSN 690. I'm Sean Campbell alongside Simon Tsalikis, who is in for Mitch Gallo. Game day, Montreal Canadiens and LA Kings tonight at 10:30. That was TSN's Darren Dreger on the morning show talking about a possibility of a trade frenzy in and around the Four Nations. Just another week and a half until that break begins. And Darren Dreger talking about the big UFA on the Montreal Canadiens.
I think you'd really want to know or have something in place by March 7th, or, you test the waters. And that's probably already happening with Ken Hughes, where he's having trade conversations. Doesn't mean he's shopping Evans, but he's gauging what the value is in that player. And then you've got to flip that over into a business transaction and say, okay, well, is he more valuable to us by way of return, or is he more valuable and being the player that he is, chipping in the way that he has of late and helping us get to the next stage of our development here.
Simon, it's been over a month that we've heard that Jake Evans and the Canadiens have been talking about an extension. Evans wants to stay in Montreal. Montreal wants Evans. How come that deal hasn't been done yet? And what's the possibility that he could actually be traded before the deadline?
The reason why two reasons why a deal is not done. One, they can't come to terms, or two, you haven't even started the conversation. So I'm not sure which one it is. I think if you ask me to bet a dollar or a coffee, Sean, I believe that Jake Evans gets moved. And I believe that he'll...
You really think he's going to get moved?
Yes, because...
I really don't think he's going to get moved. I think this is going to be a done deal, and that's why I'm asking.
Why would you not move him, though? Can I just give you my perfect scenario?
Sure.
And with my perfect scenario comes risk. With your scenario comes no risk. Well, except for the player not panning out. But let's forget that. If you were to trade him at the deadline, and I'm not even going to say for a first-round pick, Sean, because you might, depending on how desperate a team is and how desperate a general manager is to win a first or a second round because it may cost him his job, that general manager doesn't care if they overpay for Jake Evans, because if Jake Evans and his team doesn't work out, he's unemployed, right?
Okay.
So there is the general manager that may overpay. Can you just not get some assets in return? Maybe a young player, maybe a first-round pick, maybe at least a second-round pick. And if you know your player, listen, we'll just pick up the phone when we call on July 1st.
Yeah, okay, so the July 1st, that's a whole other risky element to this.
It is.
Second thing, as an organization, you've invested a decade into a player who is now becoming the player that you always dreamed of, and you're going to walk away from that?
Those guys haven't invested a decade. The organization has. Ken Hughes has not invested.
But my point is, whoever's going to be coming up next, you're investing 8 months into this player.
I get it, again, but I'll part ways with the asset, acquire some more assets, and if I really want him and the deal makes sense, I'll see you back on July 1st. And
okay,
if I don't, there has to be a plan B.
But what's the plan B? So if you get rid of Jake Evans,
yes,
is plan B re-signing Dvorak?
No.
Okay, so Dvorak and Evans are gone.
Yeah.
You have Doc as a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
So next year you're running into the season as Suzuki, Doc, Beck, and Kapanen as your center iceman.
Maybe
and you think you're a better team? And don't give me a new hook in the middle there.
No, but am I a better team?
So then that's one thing that I don't think that works.
Well, it also...
And then second...
Yes, go ahead.
So you're like, okay, so we got a draft pick, and we're going to be able to pick someone, and then we'll spend money on free agency to pick up another center. So you're just going to not spend the money on Jake Evans, and then we'll get someone like Jake Evans in free agency. Okay, you'll get someone like Jake Evans in free agency. You'll probably spend just as much on that you were going to spend on Jake Evans on that person that doesn't know you, that you don't know. Jake Evans, throughout his career with the Canadiens, has been one thing, very consistent. This year, no, he's inconsistently more offensive. Do I think that this is the Jake Evans you're going to get for the next 4 years?
It's not.
No, but I know who I'm going to get for the next 4 years. I'm going to get a face-off winning, penalty killing, and consistent guy that's going to be in your bottom six from start to finish.
Sorry, because you sounded like Ric Flair there for a second. Face-off winning, penalty killing,
jet flying.
Okay, where's he going with this? I
He's
love
going to
this.
be walking up with his brand new robe.
Yeah.
But my point is, the cap's going up. Okay, so you don't want to spend over $4 million, and you think he's going to be a $4 million player. So you hold in, you negotiate. That's what you do. I understand if he's asking for $5 million, there's something that you may have to walk away here. And it's up to Jake Evans here. Whatever the Canadiens want to do, let's be honest, he's a UFA. I'm just saying, we'll find a Jake Evans-like player. I hate that because you're just going to pay what you would have paid Jake Evans for a Jake Evans-like player.
Maybe somebody would – look, Sean, this is my thing with Jake Evans. And I don't – there was a stretch for a month this year where he wasn't that good. He was okay, right? So we're 4 months into the season, October, November, December, and January. So let's just say in those 4 months, he's been great for 3 months. So who is Jake Evans? Are you paying – you're asking me to cut a check for which Jake Evans? The Jake Evans that I've seen for the last 3 months or the Jake Evans that I've seen for the last 36 months? Because they're two very different Jake Evans.
I'm paying for the Jake Evans that I've seen from the get-go with the Canadiens organization.
I know, but what's gotten everybody's interest, Sean, is not what he's doing in the dot. It's what he's doing as a penalty killer, absolutely. Yeah. But what got everybody talking because he's on pace for probably 17, 18 goals. If he was great in the dot, still good at penalty killing, but still stuck on 3-4 goals, I don't think 11-690 and 514-790-1 1690 would be flaring up with people asking to keep Jake Evans.
No, he's not a 25% shooting percentage guy.
He's at 21%.
I think even he and his agent know that.
Yeah,
but you want to cash out because
you do want to cash out.
This is his one big opportunity. I get that.
So when
I don't know the personality of Jake Evans.
Was Thomas Plekanec a good penalty killer?
Yes.
Was Paul Byron a good penalty killer?
Yes.
Okay. Joel Armia a good penalty killer?
Yes.
And so is Jake Evans?
Yes.
So it kind of seems like you can find, I'm not saying they grow on trees like anything else in sports, but if you as a front office cannot comprehend or figure out how to replace Jake Evans, a third or fourth line player, penalty killer, who may score 10 goals on the regular, then guys, then what do I have you there for?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I like having within an organization things that I know and I can count on. I'm not asking Jake Evans to be a 15-goal scorer or even a 10-goal scorer. I'm asking Jake Evans to be a bottom six center iceman that I can rely on for the next 3 years, and I don't even have to worry about the position. A known commodity. That's exactly what he is. Arturi Lehkonen, to bring this back to a decision that I don't think worked out for the Canadiens here.
It did not.
And I know that it eventually turned into Carrier, and we could do that math.
It did not.
But Arturi Lehkonen, loved or hated him with the Canadiens, you knew exactly who he was. He was a known commodity every single time that he stepped out onto the ice. Philip Deneau was a known commodity. And the Canadiens walked away from these players. I think you have to stop walking away from these known commodities and then bringing in these unknowns. Doc on a nightly basis. Unknown, not sure what's going to happen. Alex Newhook. I have no idea if you're going to get the great Alex Newhook you see here and then one that disappears for a while that didn't have assists for 30 games. Patrick Laine, you know what he is. That's more of a known commodity. But Joel Armia through his tenure with the Montreal Canadiens. I like him right now, but if I'm spanning over the last 48 months, he's an unknown commodity.
Hot and cold commodity. I wouldn't say unknown commodity.
No, but it's unknown because you don't know what you're going to get on a nightly basis. I know what I'm going to get on a nice nightly basis with Jake Evans. Am I ready to spend $5 million? No.
But I also think, Sean, is there not an element that you keep rolling out the band and you keep getting the same result? Like
but you could change other pieces. I'm okay with you moving away from Dvorak and you're bringing in Kapanen or back. But if you're moving away from Evans and Dvorak and you're bringing in Kapanen back next year and you think you're going to be a better hockey team, you have another thing coming. So just on this front, you want to move on from what is the deal? You say you think he's going to get dealt. Is it a first-round pick? If that's all or you want players? You want a prospect?
I don't think you're going to get a prospect for Jake Evans.
First-round pick, you're not going to get anything in the top 15.
No. Well, it's coming from a non-playoff team, right? But still, I think you're in the position that you can continue to acquire first-round picks. I think if it's a first-round pick, Sean, it's gone. It's done deal, out the door. They're taking it. And they'll take their chances on July 1st with everybody else. And that's where Jake has to make the decision. There's a role here for you. You've seen it for the last 4 or 5 years. There is a role for you. But if somebody calls Ken Hughes and offers a first-round pick for Jake Evans and they walk from that, whoa. Because when you have 2 first-round picks, Sean, you can package it up to a better first-round pick, or it puts you in play for somebody else. I just tweeted as a joke here because I saw Nazem Kadri going at it with another member of the Flames, Kadri to the Flames. Well, when you start adding up first-round picks and you start having cap space, you can make a move. And I'm not saying Nazem Kadri, but a center somewhere else where that team is going absolutely nowhere. I like Jake Evans. I've seen good play from him. I don't think the offense is going to continue at this rate. He's shooting at a 20% clip. That simply will not continue. But again, if I can grab myself a first or a second and I can go back at him on July 1st, and you know better than I do. You call the Laval Rocket game. Owen Beck is in play. I think the little I've seen of the Rocket, which is probably more than most Habs fans, because I'll tune into RDS to watch literally my local club. I think offense comes a little easier to Owen Beck's stick than it does to Jake Evans, specifically at the tenure of their careers. I think Jake Evans, Owen Beck had a better offensive output in the Ontario Hockey League. So I see, my little eye, I see offense comes a little easier to Owen Beck. Kapanen is a great name that you brought up. Plays centers, having a very good tenure in Europe. Heineman, we've all been impressed. We all really like what we've seen from Heineman. Now, can there be another new hook deal? A guy not really working out with somebody? Can you not take that money to free agency and find, Patrick Laine, if he gets an extension, Demidov comes, Slavkovsky is there, Caulfield is there, Suzuki is there. My top 6 is already congested. So where do I find my spots? And I think, Sean, from a football perspective, the Bears, the Commanders, they're in good positions because you know that they don't have to pay their quarterbacks yet. Now, if you flip that to the hockey world, I don't want to overpay on my bottom 6. I rather completely overpay on my top 6. So that's just me. I rather go on my bottom 6, young, mobile, agile, and affordable. So that's a little bit of the dynamic I'm looking for. There's a spot for Jake Evans on this team, but if I can't use, it's got to be a little bit of my price.
Sure, that's why you got to negotiate. But Jake Evans is the one running the bus right now because when you're UFA, it's the one time that you are in.
He's got to set himself up for life. But I do believe that there's an opportunity for him to be traded and for him to come back on July 1st.